Whence came that black-eyed vision? It flickered in my life a fleeting moment. Whither did it vanish? The twilight of many incarnations burned in those eyes. Many lights of my love's dreams have met before in the bower of those eyes. Today, but a godless altar, lifeless, empty eyes are all that remains before my outward gaze. O thou secret queen of the highest heavens, from what unknown region didst thou come on tiptoe, silently to bewitch with hidden meaning those two perfect eyes? When bitter speech sometimes and sadness of higher yearning drove me to seek firm answers, often I discovered safety in the harbor of those two eyes. Now death, like a disrupting earthquake, has removed from me forever those dream-sheltering eyes. Wind-driven from the harbor of those eyes, I sailed my boat, seeking thee again in the sea, in the sky. Threefold sorrow, no nurturing, no comforting, no loving smiles. Storm-driven, the boat of my life, now motherless, is without a rudder. Therefore now my boat sails on through unknown regions, rudderless, directionless, searching through sea and sky for those two lost dark eyes. Many other starry eyes twinkled in black depths, hinting at kindness and sympathy, but they were not those two black eyes I had lost. Many black eyes, affection-saturated, called to me, offering to appease my motherless sorrow, to make me feel less bereft and orphaned. But how could any match the love call and the glance of those two lost dark eyes? The love in those two black eyes, like the moon, has set upon the region of all eyes, everywhere, seeking those two eyes in memories of past births and deaths, and countless lives and in countless broken dreams. In lands both known and unknown, at last I found my mother's eyes, in the all-penetrating eyes of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother's countless black eyes pervaded all space, and gazed at me from all hearts. They lurked at the cores of all planets, and shone with supportive love from all stars. Within and outside of everything, those two dark eyes gazed at me tenderly, everywhere. Seeking, ever seeking my departed mother, I found the deathless mother of the universe. What I had lost in my earthly mother's death, I found again forever in my cosmic mother. My human mother's dear lost black eyes I found smiling at me tenderly from the heart of all space, and at the soundless center of all atoms. I asked my mother divine, "Oh, how cruelly, carelessly, without warning, didst thou strip away the diamond of my mother's love from the ring of my heart? Why, mother? How couldst thou have hurt me so?" The cloud voice of my divine mother then spoke, thrilling my inner firmament. Many times have I fed thee with milk from the breasts of many mothers. This time the loving black eyes of your mother, though lost for a little while, were no one else but I, my very self. When I saw that thy wisdom and thy cosmic love had lost their way in the jungle of those two dark eyes, I set fire to that alluring darkness. I stole from thee those two imprisoning black eyes to free thee, that thou might seekest their essence in my eyes, and mightst find that essence then in the soulful eyes of all earthly mothers. Behold, the eyes of all are but dim suggestions of my eyes. I broke that dream-made, finite mother form of mine, that thou mightst behold me, thy infinite mother, in the form of every soulful woman, and in my own shining cosmic form.
continue to meditate as we listen to these words by Swami Ananda from Affirmations for Self-Healing on truthfulness. Truthfulness is not caustic statements of unpleasant facts and unflattering opinions. Such statements are usually born of pride. But truthfulness is the effort always to see the divine truth behind appearances. It is the effort to express always that aspect of truth which may prove the most beneficial. Truthfulness, as applied to ourselves, means not to hide behind self-flattering justifications, to look honestly at our real motives for doing anything, and not to flinch before unpleasant realities in ourselves. Truthfulness means seeing things as they really are, but then looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. Let's practice our affirmation on truthfulness, repeating after me first in a loud voice, capturing the attention of the conscious mind with great enthusiasm. Whatever is, simply is.
Whatever is, simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
And softer now, whatever is, simply is.
Whatever is, simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
And in a whisper now, taking it into the subconscious mind, whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Silently now, taking it even deeper, whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. And now broadcasting it at the point between the eyebrows into the superconscious mind. Whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Please pray silently along with me. Heavenly Father, I will not fear the truth, for I know that truth comes from Thee. Help me to see behind all appearances Thy smiling, all-compassionate gaze. Om and peace. Amen. Good morning.
Good
morning. Good to be here. And hello, everyone online. I'm going to read Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. And this week is the Inner Kingdom. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda.
Most people imagine that the inner kingdom, as Jesus described it, lacks the fascination they attribute to sense life, the bright lights, the diverse attractions, the joys and laughter. Little do they realize what a vast universe exists in their own selves. There are many passages in the Old Testament and New Testament of the Bible that describes aspects of this inner kingdom. In the book of Genesis, we read, "And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." This garden was no earthly place. It exists even now in the very self of every human being. The legend of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It describes how the first human beings dissipated their spiritual energy centered in the spine. The spine is the channel through which flows the river of baptism and of spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita tells us, "The wise speak of an eternal Ashvata tree with its roots above and its branches below." The tree of life, spoken of also in Genesis, is the spine. Its roots are above in the brain's energy. Its branches are the outward spreading nervous system. When the sap, which is to say the energy, flows downward, the consciousness is drawn into delusion. On the other hand, when the energy is drawn upward in deep meditation, the consciousness is drawn toward its eternal source, God, and is at last united with him. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita therefore urges his chief disciple Arjuna to embrace the yoga science, the path of meditation. The yogi, he says, is greater than an ascetic, greater even than the followers of the path of wisdom, Jnana Yoga, or of the action, Karma Yoga. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. For those who would find the divine truth, Krishna gives this description of the yogi. Steadfast a lamp burns, sheltered from the wind. Steadfastly meditating, solitary. Such is the likeness of a yogi's mind, shut from sense storms and burning bright to heaven. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning again, everyone. Such a joy to be with you all today. I'm going to save the whispers from eternity for the end. George and I are going to do something new. He's going to play Swami's song, Dark Eyes, as I read the poem that inspired that piece of music, which is Master's poem, Those Two Dark Eyes, which is about the passing of his mother and how he had to search for Divine Mother in cosmic consciousness to find the mothering sweetness that he so desired. But anyway, that will have to wait. So it's interesting, this topic. I was just sitting here listening to Suryani read it, and I remembered, I'm sure we've all seen paintings of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden before, and I love that every artist will decide to make a painting either right before the apple or right after the apple, and you really get, there's really a contrast of consciousness. So one is the snake is like, hey, you should try this apple, it's good. But then what I was suddenly chuckling at when I was sitting here is a friend was describing a version of the painting that they saw, and God had shown up and was like, what's happened? And Adam is sitting on a rock with his hands in his head, with his head in his hands, just going, oh God, what have I done? And I thought that was so funny because it really shows it, we kind of can laugh at it, but really I think that's kind of what all of our souls are doing all the time. It's going, oh God, what have I done? And then, we do it again. See, the thing is, we think, Adam and Eve, they eat the apple once and boom, you're cast down to earth and all of your, future generations will be cursed because of that one deed you did. Well, God's not really that unkind. The fact of the matter is we keep going back to that tree of sense pleasures, and we keep eating from the fruit of the world and of sense pleasures and desires, and it keeps burning us. And I don't know about you, but I often find myself with my head in my hands going, oh God, what have I done? Again. I thought I had it this time, but I guess, that delusion on you're sitting on your left shoulder is very persuasive as it sits there and tells you, no, you should really try that thing again. That thing you did 1,000 times and it never panned out? Maybe this time it's going to work. It's going to work. You know how everybody else thinks they can quit smoking? I bet you could quit smoking, if you wanted to. Delusion is sneaky and it's always getting at us because the thing is we have habituated ourselves to seeking pleasure in the world, haven't we? Think about when you get tired, when your energy is depleted after your long day at work and you go home, what's the first thing you turn to? And this is an exercise in truthfulness. It's not that we have to beat ourselves up for it, but is the first thing you're turning to God and the Guru, to devotion, to chanting, to relighting that lamp of your own heart? Or is it to, I'm going to sit on the couch and zone out and watch Netflix? Because if we're honest about it, sitting on the couch, zoning out and watching Netflix is a whole lot easier because it takes no energy. We can be passive and just be entertained. But going inside, using our energy, using our yogic techniques takes a lot of energy. It takes a tremendous amount of energy and willingness. And so very often, especially in the beginning on the spiritual path, it's kind of hard to get ourselves to start moving back in the right direction. And so this is why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the Ashvata tree with its roots above and its branches below. And the sap of that tree is our life's force in the spine. And so the question is, where is that life force being directed? Are we being able to draw it back into the spine and offering it up to God? If so, you'll feel more and more bliss, more and more love in yourself. You'll feel more and more energy and vitality constantly. But if from time to time you let that sap go out into the branches and you enjoy the world for the world's sake, then you start losing your vitality. And it's really just as simple as that. And so if you ever find yourself wondering, gee, I wish I had more energy, more vitality, more inspiration, the answer is really easy to find. The answer is you're letting too much of your vitality and your life force flow into the senses, flow into the world. Learn to withdraw that energy again, and you will find your power once more. And this is what Patanjali talks about as the practice of brahmacharya, which means to flow with Brahma, flowing with the Creator. Because if you can flow with the Spirit, with the essence of God inside you all the time, you can act in the world and not be of the world, which is what Yogananda said. That if you feel that you are constantly working with God, feeling the current, the flow of God in your spine, then you can act in the world without being tainted by it. But this topic of the inner kingdom is one that I find very inspiring because it is an important promise for each of us that is showing us the way back home and showing us to lasting happiness. Because we can all see from our own experience or from watching the lives of others that the more we seek happiness in the outward kingdom, the more disappointment will become our most frequent dinner guest. And pain will become, our speed dial number on our phone. But the more we can learn to detach from the world and seek the inner kingdom, the more joy will become our friend, the more divine love will become our companion, the more the masters and the saints will become our pen pals. And so, we can look, just think for a moment of every person in history who tried to find their happiness in the world. Even the greatest examples, like the great conquerors of the world, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Hitler, Napoleon Bonaparte. They maybe accomplished great things. They forged entire kingdoms or empires out of the world. But do you think they were happy when they died? Do you think they could face their maker and say, this I have done for righteousness? Or do you think they were left empty and feeling that their entire life was spent chasing something that they could never quite grasp? I think it's really interesting to contemplate this sort of thing because only when we turn inwards and try to conquer the inner kingdom do we begin to find lasting happiness. And at first, the battle of conquering the inner kingdom seems really boring and dull because we don't perceive its joys. When we close our eyes, we see darkness. We feel agitation, irritation, or loneliness. And so why should I go inside? Everything outside seems so much more entertaining. But with time, the inner world begins to reveal itself to us again because we've lost our vision. We've lost our ability to perceive higher truth. And the way to regain that vision is through deep introspection, by trying to refine our consciousness once again, to receive the higher vibrations of our own reality, of our own being. I've been studying astrology for the last 10 months or so. It's been a long passion of mine ever since I was a boy, but I've finally been able to do it with some guidance from Drupada, who lives up at Ananda village and has been doing this like mystical astrology for 35 years, and it's very profound. But what I've been really enjoying from our practice together is the way he approaches astrology, which is the way Master and Swamiji approached astrology, is that the stars are just reflections of your inner reality. That the only reason why a planet has some control over your life is because you have a chakra. And the chakra and that planet are vibrating at a similar frequency. And until you can free the energy in your chakra, that magnetism of that planet is going to hold sway over your life. And so with this knowledge, the science of astrology becomes one of how do we reverse engineer how we've become bound to become free again, to become more joyful again, to become more inspired again, and to be the saint that God has created us to be. We all have an individual song to sing, and no one can sing your song. No one can be you. That, you know, it's beautiful, and studying astrology has shown me this, that every single soul is a unique spark of God, and has a unique way of expressing God's joy, or God's love, or God's wisdom. Not all of us are going to be like Swami Kriyananda and writing 150 books, but you can be kind, you can be loving, you could be wise, and it's up to you to discover how God wants to sing through you, because that's your soul's journey back home. But what's been really beautiful about this practice for me personally is it's taught me a lot about the inner kingdom. Because when I started studying with Drupada, the astrologer, I thought he was going to give me, a stack of course books and heavy reading assignments and better memorize this and memorize that, because astrology is a very complex science as well. But he didn't do any of that. You know what he had me do? He said, read half a page every day and meditate deeply. Meditate deeply. Pray to Master, pray to Yogananda. And he said, go inside and get to know these energies, because each planet, like I said, is really just a reflection of our chakras. And so he said, why read a book about Venus when you can go inside and you can feel your heart? Why sit here and try and beautify your house when you can practice pranayama and feel the divine love growing in your heart? And so it's been a beautiful practice for me of really trying to discover these astral energies inside myself, and also that permeate the world, that I'm feeling their vibration as you become more subtly attuned. And what's been entrancing is that the more aware I become of my inner chakras, of their energy, of their vibration, even of the little things that I harbor in my heart or in my lumbar chakra or in my throat chakra that are keeping me from expressing their energy beautifully, then I can start to feel, what is God's song of the heart flowing right now? And how am I impeding that? What is God's song of light? And how am I obstructing that? And then we can begin to see that, wow, God's light, God's joy, God's love is really just shining 24/7 all the time. And the only thing that stops us from realizing that is we're drawing the curtains and making barricades in front of the doors, trying to keep it out of our lives, even if we don't realize it. And what's been really beautiful for me is this science, this practice of astrology has turned into like a living mystical experience, where I'm beginning to be able to feel the presence of God in the form of these universal vibrations in my daily life. And I can feel them in other people, and I can see them in the trees or in the flowing wind that blows past your cheek. But the reason why I'm sharing this is it becomes, in fact, a more real reality than the outward world. Because you begin to see that even something like, I was on a jet airplane flying up to Northern California last week to go visit my parents in Suryani for my birthday, and I was sitting in the airplane, and my favorite moment of flying in an airplane is that moment that the jet engines kick on. And I've always enjoyed that, and I never really realized why until I suddenly realized sitting on this airplane, because that's God's power getting to express itself a little bit. That it's transforming this little thing of jet fuel into power, into just energy that's being channeled to propel this airplane. And I realized as I was sitting there, that's not what I'm feeling, what I'm enjoying is not the roar of a jet or the power of this plane taking off, but I'm enjoying God's power and vitality expressing itself in a very, very small way. And then you begin to wonder, where else is that vitality? Where else is God's joy lurking behind the veil of my experience? And when you can begin to ask these questions and seek in this way, it becomes like the greatest game of hide and go seek. And God is it, and you're trying to find it. And so, is Babaji hiding behind this door? Is he hiding behind this friend? Is he hiding in this heart waiting to be awoken? Is he hiding behind this word that's coming to your ear now? Is he hiding behind this dream that you have just dreamt? Where is God hiding? And eventually you begin to see, piece by piece, that, lo, God is everywhere. God is everything. And he's better at hiding in certain things. Like it's harder to see God in the concrete. It's easier to see God in a flower. But it's beautiful. Not Luther Burbank, but George Washington Carver, who invented many things, and I'm very grateful for his invention of peanut butter. But he came up with over 1,000 uses for the peanut. Did you know that? But you know what? He has this incredibly beautiful quote, and he said, "Anything will reveal its secrets to you if you love it enough." And he said, when I listen to the little peanut, it reveals its secrets to me. And when I listen to the little flower, it reveals its secrets to me. And he said, so too I've discovered that if I listen to other people and love them silently, they reveal their secrets to me. And this is what we can do with God. We don't have to bash down God's door with our theology and with our understanding of scriptural texts. We need to love God. We need to love God, and he will reveal his secrets to us. Because God can't resist an earnest soul call of the heart. Wisdom can't resist an earnest soul call of the heart. And just like in my experience of practicing these things with astrology, you begin to feel God's presence in daily life if you love God. And when you love God, he'll show you everything. He'll show you how to live. He'll show you how to work. He'll show you how to be a partner. He'll show you how to be a friend. And I want to close just by saying, remember that if you've ever finding yourself seeking happiness outside of yourself, try and introspect and ask yourself, what am I really looking for? What is it that my soul is hungry for? What is it in me that feels I am lacking that is compelling me to seek happiness outside of myself? Because if you can actually come to the core of that, the answer is almost always God. That's what you're longing for. That's what you're missing. And if you can fill the hole with God, then you'll desire nothing more. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone is all we ever need.